Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the 4ChangeMakers Lunch Club. So, as normally, I am one of the co-hosts. This is Fernando, and I would like to welcome Sina. Sina, how are you doing? There you go. There's my
Hello.
video, by the way. Sina, how are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing amazing. Yeah, it's great to see you as well. Excited for today. And I think we're going to have an amazing interview and a really cool guest.
Yes. Today we have an awesome episode. But before going into that, well, I can see also like people that is joining and coming in. Let us know from where are you joining, and let's have some fun together today, and let's share our lunch break with this pleasant conversation. So just type there in the chat. Let us know where are you joining from. And before moving on, maybe Sina, you can help us with a little bit of the housekeeping as usual.
Oh, of course. So as Fernando just said, just type in the chat where you're from, and we also want to use this chat to engage with one another, to use it to network, because there's so many amazing change makers normally joining our little corner here in the internet. And so, hey, Natalie, I just saw that Natalie joined us again, and Chris as well. So Chris is almost, he's joining us almost every time. So that's amazing.
Awesome.
Yes. Just use this chat function to post like ideas, or I don't know, just connect with one another during the interview. And we will have a Q&A session at the end. So the second half of the lunch club, we always open up the stage for your questions. So if you have questions in between, just paste them below in the Q&A section, and then we're going to cover all of those questions at the end. And yeah, that's basically it. I will be a bit in the background. Fernando's going to take the lead on the interview, but you're going to see my face again later on for the Q&A session. And if you have any other questions in between, just ask me in the chat. You can also send me a private message.
Exactly. Well, by the way, I can see here, and we have people joining from Berlin, Germany, from the UK, from Paris, from Pescara, Italy. So anyway, this is super cool. Super exciting to have people, from all over the world, all over Europe. Here we have people from Poland as well. Anyway, this is so much fun. So during the conversation that we are going to have today with our special guest, just type the question that you might have in the Q&A section, and we will make sure to ask that at the end. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today to our guest, who is Amara Abara. He is the founder and CEO of Giant Strike Media. That is a growth marketing agency for purpose-driven direct-to-consumer brands. Their primary focus is to master the art and the science of growing the online sales of those brands to create massive impact and make the world a healthier place. They do this by providing the client with the strategies for improving their website conversion and increasing the customer lifetime value. This is a super cool concept that we are going to be talking about as well. Amara, it's a great businessman. He knows a lot about business as well, so we will touch point on that as well. So anyway, without further ado, I would like to introduce today Amara. You can turn on your camera and say hi to all the people here. Welcome to the show, Amara.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? How's it going, Fernando?
It's great, and now even better because I have you here today, and I'm sure we are going to have a lot of fun and super valuable as well for everyone here. So thank you very much for accepting this invitation and taking time to be sharing with us your knowledge.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you and Sina. I've been following you guys for a while, so I'm excited to finally be on the Lunch Club.
Awesome. Thank you. So, well, let's get started then. Well, I know that one of the things that you do is to help people to break through an ever noisy market. But of course, that's normally, it's easier said than done. And before going, into in depth, let's talk about what is growth marketing and what does it mean.
Sure. So many definitions out there as to what growth marketing means, but the most common one is data-driven marketing backed by rapid experimentation. So full funnel, data-driven marketing backed by rapid experimentation. And I guess what would really help is to try and share how it differs from traditional marketing. So with traditional marketing, the focus really is on finding out how you can make a sale, right? So how can you make a sale? How can you build more awareness of your product? So that's the focus of traditional marketing. Whereas with growth marketing, the main focus is, yes, you also want to make a sale, you want to create some awareness, but it's how can you grow your business in the most efficient way, right? So how can you find the most efficient path to scale? So that's really how it differs. And based on that, you can see that there are different mindsets, of your traditional marketing versus growth marketing. I'd say that traditional marketing is usually focused on like awareness, as I said, like creating awareness, creating sales. And because there is an assumption, and to be fair, that assumption is correct, that the more awareness you get, the more success you're going to have, right? And sales. But with growth marketing, it's kind of more focused on, okay, yes, we want to drive awareness, but we want to find exactly what is causing conversions, right? We want to focus on exactly what's working and honing on that. So that's kind of a high level. I can go in deeper if you'd like, but I just want to pause for breath.
Got it. No. I think over in the conversation we will go deeper on some things. Now my first question after this is, okay, how we can differentiate ourselves, in the environment today where it's super noisy, and especially with social media. How we can get our message across to our target market in this kind of environment?
That's a really good question. So I'd say in terms of differentiating yourself, you want to use your brand to tell a story. So I think that's the most important thing there.
Yes.
How can you tell a compelling story with your brand? Because, we humans, we love stories, right? We've been telling stories for eons. Stories help us to come together and collaborate under a common purpose and achieve goals together. So what you want to do is to figure out the problem you want to solve. What is the problem that your ideal customer has? And then once you understand, you've got a crystal clear understanding of the problem your ideal customer has, then how can you create a story about that problem with your brand as the main protagonist, right? Your brand as the hero or the heroine, right? And the problem as the antagonist, right? So once you have that sort of framework, the most important thing though is to inject your unique traits and quirks, what makes you weird, inject that into that protagonist, which is your brand.
Yes.
Right? Because, based on, the combinatorics of the human genome, no one else has your DNA sequence or your life experiences. So if you're able to infuse these things into your branding, you're going to make it unique. You're going to differentiate yourself and stand out because you'll be a brand of one.
Absolutely. And now my question would be, what are your suggestions in order to do that?
Absolutely. So one of the things that you want to do is think about, for example, one of the things that I would say is think about exactly what is the thing that you want to solve, the problem you want to solve in the world, right? And once you understand that, I would say go back and just do some analysis on that problem, right? And then create a product that would really stand out. So, for example, think about, I'll use an example because an example is usually easier. Think about one of the most compelling stories in the world right now. So, Elon Musk, he's trying to make humans a multiplanetary species, right?
Yes.
So his main story is making humans a multiplanetary species. And the protagonists in his story are, there's Tesla, SpaceX, right? Those are the most main protagonists. And he's infused his essence, right, into those companies, right? No one else can just start up another carbon copy of SpaceX or Tesla, right? So this is the most important thing. But in order to make it more concrete, I would say if you'd like to do this in terms of differentiating your brand, I've got a book recommendation. It's called Hello, My Name is Awesome. And it's written by Alexandra Waitkins. And what she does is that she basically helps you, by taking you through a framework, provides you with ideas on how you can create a theme for your business, right? How you can create a theme based on these problems we're talking about, these problems that your customers have, and then how you can then differentiate yourself using that theme, So I highly recommend anyone who is thinking about diving in deep into differentiation to read Hello, My Name is Awesome.
Got it. Got it. Thank you very much as well for that recommendation. Now, coming back a little bit, you mentioned at the beginning that like this is not about just like blindly scaling, you know. So going into that, what are your tips, suggestions on how we can develop a sustainable strategy that can accelerate the growth online?
Sure. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give two answers to this.
Yes.
One is thinking about how your business impacts the world in general, like how your business impacts the planet. And the other is really focusing on your business as an entity. How can it grow sustainably? So, you know, I've been following your content for a while. So a lot of your audience is probably aware of some of the sustainable practices that you can incorporate into your business, you know, to make sure that you're having a healthy relationship with the planet. For example, having biodegradable packaging, helps. Making sure that you're managing your logistics to reduce your carbon footprint, things like that. Even doing some basic due diligence on your suppliers to make sure that they themselves are following sustainable practices, right? So
Exactly.
that's table stakes. However, once you go beyond that, you know, based on that premise of sustainability, what you then want to do is to, especially if you're starting out, find people in the market who resonate with this message of sustainability, who have demonstrated online that they, you know, think about topics related to sustainability. They're interested in topics related to sustainability, and it's easy to find this on, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Google. So, because the reason why you want to do this is once, you know, you've obviously you define your business as a sustainable business, the cost per acquisition of getting these customers, of getting these prospects into your business will be much lower than if you just try to get anyone.
Exactly.
So that's the way that you can actually accelerate your growth. Rather than focusing on everyone, look for people who, yes, they're interested in your product and they want the product to help them solve that problem. But you want to find an intersection of people who are interested in sustainability and also interested in getting you to solve their problem with your product. Because if you're a sustainable business, you can't really play the price game, right? You know, you can't, that's a race to the bottom. So you want to get people that appreciate the need to have sustainable businesses and are willing to pay a bit of a premium for products like that. Now, once you've got these people as a core nucleus of your customer base, like 1,000 true fans, right? You've got them, you can then scale out from there, right? Because you've got some resources, perhaps your business isn't in an existential crisis anymore, you've crossed the chasm. So now you can then use some of those resources you have to start, you know, launching more educational campaigns to get people who may not know about sustainability and educate them on why your business is doing what it's doing and why they should join you on, you know, your movement. So I hope that provides some framework around that.
Well, I have a couple of comments. I mean, first of all, it's funny that you just mentioned the 1,000 true fans. I will assume that you know then the famous blog post that it's about the 1,000 true fans for your business. So that's a super cool blog post. So I'm not sure if I would be able to find it right away, but definitely we will put it then in the show notes together with also your book recommendation. So when we upload this episode as a podcast, if you're listening right now to the podcast, or for you guys that are right now here live, when we upload this, we will put that in the show notes. So two very cool things. Now, you were also mentioning about like the price competition. I think that everyone that is involved in sustainability somehow is dealing with this thing because you cannot be, you know, as cheap as other competitors. And something I'm always saying is like, if you cannot be the cheapest one in the market, then it's just there is no competitive advantage of being the second cheapest one. So if you cannot be the cheapest one, then you just need to go to the other side. And you just gave a super great, I would say, recommendation on how to find those people who is interested in sustainability. You can help with your products and services, and also put up, you know, that premium. So you're not just competing on pricing, you're really charging your worth. So anyway, I think that's real value for all of you guys. So anyway, let's continue. let's go with the right now to understand, and maybe get more tactical with this question. What are the typical mistakes that, let's say, business owner make when going into online advertising? So in this era, we say of social media and all these gurus out there, like they paint the picture that going and running Facebook ads or whatever, it's super, super, super easy to just put there your credit card and then leads will come up, and you would be a millionaire and you will be in a Lamborghini. So that's kind of like the picture that we have today, but definitely it's not that easy. So maybe, you can expand on what are the 2-3 typical mistakes that any business owner have to look at and avoid when doing it themselves, or when maybe hiring somebody that is doing what are the things to look at?
Sure, absolutely. So I'd say one of the key things to look at is understanding who your ideal customer is.
Yes.
And I've talked about this already, but if you don't understand who you're going to be, reaching out to, speaking to on the market, then you're going to be speaking to everyone. And another one is really understanding, if you know who your ideal customer is, making sure that you're making the right offer to them. Right? Because if you know who your ideal customer is, but you're making the wrong offer to them, you might as well not make an offer in the first place. And the third one I would say is knowing your numbers, and I can dive in deep. So, with the first one, with knowing your ideal customers, you can sort of break it down into these 4 quadrants. So, demographics, psychographics, their behavioral traits, and their geographics. So with demographics, you're looking at things like, how their age, marriage status, income brackets, education, that sort of stuff. Psychographics is more focused on their psychological traits, because this is really important, because you need to speak to them in a way that resonates. So you need to understand their psychological traits. You need to understand what their lifestyle is, what their values are, interests, things like that. And then when looking at behavioral traits, you're looking at, since you're trying to grow your business online, how do customers behave online, right? How do they behave in terms of their purchasing behavior, spending habits, that sort of stuff, the high spenders, low spenders, and what sort of brands do they follow? Because that's going to enable you to also get super targeted. So you're building a picture of who this persona is, this customer avatar, right? And then the last one is the geographics. Where do they live? So what country, could be city, town, zip code, where around, in the world would people resonate the most with your message? So with that, if you're able to fill in all these things together, then you have a good picture of who your customer is. Now, with your offer, what you want to be looking at are things like, your products. Are you making the right products that's going to transform people's lives? Because people only take action if they think there's going to be a transformation at the end, right? So they want to move, they want a change of state, want to move from a before to an after state. You want to look at how can you make sure that your offer is super relevant to that audience, right? So how can you make sure that your offer is super relevant? So really thinking about the needs that they have and making it relevant to them. And then making sure that your offer stresses the need for them to act now, right? And we talked about knowing your numbers, things like making sure you understand how much it's going to cost for you to break even. And, because when you understand that, how how much you can actually spend on ads. So those are a few things that, people should sort of bear in mind so they don't make mistakes with online advertising.
Absolutely. Well, this lead me to a question that I was thinking to ask you later, but I will do it right now because I think it's relevant. What about then, what is the lifetime value? Because then this is the critical thing on knowing your numbers. I would say one of the critical things, know what's your lifetime value. So perhaps, can you help us to what's the definition of lifetime value? I'm not sure if everyone knows that. That's the one thing. And then the second question or follow up, what are your recommendations to increase or to maximize the lifetime value of a client?
Really good question. So lifetime value, I believe, is defined as the expected future cash flow that you expect that can be attributed to a customer over the relationship they have with your company, right? So the cash flow that you can expect from a customer to give you over the relationship, over their lifetime with your company. And when you're starting out, let's say, for example, imagine some people are much further on in their business. Some people are just starting out with their business. If you have a business that's 2 months old, it's very difficult for you to know like the lifetime value. But if you have a business that's been going on for a few months, what you could do is to figure out what your churn rate is. So way to calculate this is to take the number of people that leave you within a specific period, say, for example, a month or a quarter. So X number of people leave you, but at the start of that period, you had Y customers. So, right, so that would give you your churn rate. So X divided by Y. Now, once you have your churn rate, what you could do is calculate your customer lifetime, right? So we're talking about lifetime value, but before calculate the lifetime value, you want to understand the lifetime. And an easy way to calculate the lifetime is just to do 1 divided by your churn. That would give you your lifetime. Now, with your lifetime, what you can then do is times that by your average order value. So you know your lifetime, you just times it by your average order value. So this is a way you could actually get a clear picture of what your customer lifetime value could be if you've not been in business for too long, right? Just using your churn rate and then working backwards.
Yes, guys, by the way, we're getting a little bit technical with this, but this is super, super, super important, by the way. And I just love these kind of things because normally we entrepreneurs, we tend to avoid these kind of numbers. We tend to avoid this kind of things that might sound a little bit complicated. But what Amara is explaining right now, it's critical for your business. And not only for running ads, but just for knowing the numbers of your business, how much money a client will bring into your business. You know, that's something, you know, super important to know. And this has nothing to do, you know, with being sustainable. Like, yes, you are sustainable. That's the purposeful side of your business. But at the same time, if you're choosing the business vehicle, you need to think in business. You need to think on how to grow a business. And anyway, these are the critical numbers that we're talking about. Now, following.
Just want to mention something about, before we carry on, Fernando, just one quick thing, because you talked about the ways to actually increase this lifetime value. Forgot to add that in, because I know we got a bit technical there. But yes, one thing that you can do in terms of increasing your lifetime value is to focus on these 3 things. So focus on getting customers in, obviously, but focus on recency, frequency, and monetary. And I'll go through them, because if you're able to just make small incremental improvements in each of these areas, you will improve your lifetime value without having to worry too much about the calculations and the technical details. So recency, you're focusing on, you know, how recently has a customer purchased. So if a customer purchased last week compared to 2 months ago, then that customer is more recent, right? Then with frequencies, how frequently are they purchasing? Are they purchasing like 5 times a week or 5 times a month? Yes. And with monetary, how much money are they bringing in with each purchase, with each order? So because if you're able to get customers to not take too long to order, right? So that's your recency sorted out. You're able to get them to order more frequently and then spend more when they're ordering, then over time, your lifetime value is going to increase. So if you can just increase each of these by 30%, you'll be good to go.
Absolutely. Well, what Amara just did, he just explained what are the 3 ways of growing a business, by the way. Just, you know, to complement what he just said, there are only 3 ways on how you can grow a business. You can increase your number of leads, you can increase the average transaction value, or you can increase the frequency. Those are just the 3 ways on how you can grow your business, and Amara just explained you that. So take notes on this, because if you're looking right now for growing your business, well, those are the 3 ways. Thank you, Amara, by the way, for that explanation. Now, I would say that also, like, when it comes to online advertising, a lot of people fixate their mind into just generating traffic. So they're putting a money, you know, and investing on online ads, or let's say Facebook or Google, or SEO optimization and stuff like that, and they're fixated on generating traffic. However, that's just one part of the equation of getting a client. Can you expand, you know, on that, and what are the other things that we really need to have on point in order to make it that traffic, that traffic, you know, convert into paying clients?
That's a really good question. So yeah, that's one part of the equation, traffic, right? But you need to get them to convert. And you know, just it reminds me of a study that was done at the University of Ottawa that showed that the first impression people have of your site. So you've got this traffic, you've got them to your site. The first impression they have of your site is made within 15 milliseconds in the subconscious. So you want to make sure that your site is communicating the right things. And one of the things I would recommend is if you're thinking about how to, improve your conversion, because you're spending money on traffic, right? And you may actually be able to make more money without spending any more on traffic, just by improving your conversions. A few ways to go about improving your conversions is to, this one is table stakes. Make sure that your site loads really quickly. And you can go on, insights pages, Google page insights, and check that your page actually loads very quickly. So make sure that your page loads quickly. But once you've sorted out your page, you've optimized it for speed. One of the things that you want to also look at is your value proposition. Is your value proposition clear? And you can think about it as the innovations, the features, or the benefits that your product is going to be offering to your customers. That needs to be super clear. So someone needs to land on your website and not have to scroll to get your value proposition, right? Otherwise, they're going to bounce. Now, once you've sorted out the first one, which is your speed, your value proposition, then you want to then look at, okay, what is my site signaling? What is my design signaling? Is my design signaling trust or distrust, right? Because people may say, oh yeah, I didn't buy that product because X, Y, Z, I didn't like the look of it. But the fact of the matter is maybe they didn't just trust you as a brand, right? And one way few things you can do to increase trust are by, first of all, having a beautiful design. Because, like you look at evolutionary biology, right? Like flowers make themselves super beautiful so the bees can come to them. So even flowers are doing, design and UI, UX, they try to attract the bees to them, because what they're signaling to the bees is that, hey, we have the resources to generate as much nectar as possible for you. So you need to do that with your business. You need to create a beautiful website so that you're basically projecting to the world that, hey, look, you have the resources to actually do this. You're not just a business that's struggling. You have the resources to
make it seductive, no?
Exactly.
Yes.
And then once you do that, what you want to then do is, make sure that people can easily get in touch with you on your website. So having things like live chat, making sure that your contact details are very clear, just puts them at ease when they think about, okay, look, if I buy this product, are these people just going to disappear into thin air, or are they going to be there for me when I need some support? So these are the things I'd say you want to incorporate into your website.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. Now, let's when it comes to running, social media campaigns. This can be, an activity that can be a little bit intimidating when you're not in the space. Can you share with us what are let's say, the critical indicators that you're looking for when you're measuring if a campaign, a social media ad, it's working or not? What are the things that you're looking for?
Sure. So the way I like to divide it is traffic and conversions. Since we're just talking about social media, I'll say traffic and conversions. You also want to focus on retention. But with traffic, you want to think about traffic not as ones and zeros, but think about it as people. And in order to be successful at generating traffic, you want to find out exactly where those people hang out, so that you can attract them over to your websites, right? So that's the way I kind of think about it. And then once you figured out where those people hang out online, then one of the things you can do is to create creatives, so add creatives that would resonate with them based on their journey with you, right? So some people may be further along in their journey with you. Perhaps they've already been to your website. You want to be communicating differently from someone who's just finding out about you, right? You can't share the same message with everybody. Some people might already be customers. You don't want to be showing them the same ads you're showing to someone who's never heard about you. So that's one thing. And then with conversions, you want to make sure that your landing page is up to scratch. We just talked about some of those things that you could do. So, with the value proposition, making sure that it's super clear, making sure that you've got your hook very clear on your website as well, and the offer is super clear, right? So, and also you have to ensure that people understand why they should act now as well. So in terms of the technical details though, when I say running the ads, the first things I look at are my CPC, my CTR, and my CPM. So it's getting a little bit technical, but
what is the meaning of those things?
absolutely. So your CPM is the what Facebook uses to charge you is cost per million impressions.
Okay.
So that's how Facebook charges you. So that's the CPM, right? So cost per 1,000 impressions rather. And then your CTR is your click-through rate.
Okay.
Right? Your CTR is your click-through rate, and then your CPC is your cost per click.
Perfect. Okay.
So what you want to make sure is that you have a low CPM, high CTR, and low CPC as much as possible.
Okay. And what are the, like, let's say, probably it will change depending the industry, depending your offer, but more or less, what are like some healthy numbers?
Sure. So just to dive into these numbers a little bit, your CPC is a function of your CPM and CTR. So you can literally just focus on your CPC, right? But if you want to make sure that you're changing your CPC, I'd say that a benchmark across industries is about $1, right? If you're doing your CPC is well over $1, then you want to be taking a look at your CTR. Perhaps
Okay,
people are seeing your ad and not clicking over.
Okay, so more or less, it costs you $1 in order to get somebody to click on your ad.
Yes, and land on your page.
And to get into your landing page.
Exactly. So if you can get that, okay, look, obviously it can be improved on. We've got clients that are doing CPCs of 20 cents or less than that, or a bit more. But as general benchmark, I would say $1. Exactly. And then if your CPC is not good, just look at your CTR. How can you increase the click-through rate of people coming? Best action, right, is for them to add their products to cart. So you want them to have a look at your landing page, understand exactly what's on your landing page, and then add their products to cart. So that's really important. So I'd say an add to cart rate of 10% is really good. So if like 100 people land on your website, but only 10 add to cart, that's okay. You can do better than that, but that's okay. Now, once people have added to cart, you want to then measure how many people actually complete the purchase.
Yes.
Right. So you want to aim for 30% or more completing the purchase. If you're getting less than 30% of people who have added to cart, if you're getting less than 30% of people who have added to cart completing the purchase, then you want to take a look at, some of the trust signals we talked about on your website.
Yes.
How can you improve that? How can you improve the checkout experience as well so that it's seamless?
So that's how you know if you have some issues or some troubles, with your traffic, or maybe you have some troubles with your landing page and with your offer, and like that's why it's this two-step sequence, huh?
Yes.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Just like one question, because you mentioned before something about your website and having the right hook and the right offer. Can you? I think this is a little bit technical, and for marketers, it's a very usual concept. But for somebody that is not like a marketer, what is a hook? What are you meaning by that? What do you mean by that?
Absolutely, that's a good question. So a hook, you can think about a hook as a compelling reason why someone needs to take action on your offer, right? So say, for example, a topic that's super relevant today, hand sanitizers, right?
Yes.
People are using it now. It's sales for some people are skyrocketing. A hook could be running out of hand sanitizers. It's kind of like, because people are scrolling through on their social media and you want to kind of stop them on that. So running out of hand sanitizers, or, have you noticed that, normal hand sanitizers smell like alcohol, and, remember, it smells super toxic. And then if your product is more sort of organic and, has natural ingredients, you can then transition into the benefits of your hand sanitizer or your product that makes it different from the box standard.
Yes.
But usually your hook should contain the pain points in the form of a question, and that usually works best.
And that's why this brings us back on really knowing your target market. So you can put that question and speak to somebody directly. So when you speak to everyone, you're speaking to nobody. So Exactly. Cool. This makes so much sense. So anyway, we're going to continue right now with a couple of more questions. Just for everyone right now here joining us live, we will open the Q&A section in a bit. I can see already some of you are being very active and posting some questions. So please go there to the Q&A section, and Sina, as always, she will be the voice of the people, and she will be moderating and asking your questions. So anyway, just go for it, and we in a bit we will open that as well. So anyway, let's continue then with this. Let's talk about growth opportunities. So some of the things I know you do, you are always looking and exploring for the growth opportunities that a business have. Can you expand on what are the typical things that you're looking for, and what is how it looks like? What is growth opportunities, and where are lying these opportunities for a business?
Sure. So I'd say in terms of growth opportunities, what you want to look at are the one that's usually mostly missed are the channels that you're going to be growing with. And I'd say, I've fallen foul of this. You people usually start with channels that they know, that they're familiar with, or channels that they know that their competitors have had good success with. So how can you, yes, understand that you want to test out the channels that you know or you've heard that have had good success, but also understand the scope of all the channels that you have at your disposal. So just to make things a bit more clear, channels like social media ads. So that's a channel you can use to scale your business. Another channel, for example, could be email marketing. Another channel could be content marketing. Another channel could be selling stuff by the post. You'd be surprised that actually right now selling stuff by the post could be very effective because no one's doing it. As long as you have a coupon code that you can use to track back to the customer, that could be an effective channel for you. Podcasts, traditional media. So all of these are channels, right? So what you want to do is to not dismiss any of these channels, right? Don't want to dismiss any, test all of them as much as you can, because it might be that competitors in your space have dismissed them and they just focused on the ones that are, super relevant, like Facebook and Instagram, right? That's very saturated as a result of that. Because if you can find a channel that other people are underutilizing, then literally you can just use the opportunity to scale your business whilst they're sleeping on it before they're cutting onto it. So that's one tip on how to find a growth opportunity out there for businesses.
Great. Now this just open up a loop that it's about, not getting lost on all these, because those things that you just mentioned make a lot of sense when they are aligned with an overall strategy. Otherwise, with all these different tactics, you can just get lost, running and trying to do content marketing and running Facebook ads, and starting a podcast, writing a blog, doing this, doing that, email marketing, there's boom, your brain will explode. So how we make sure that this it's done, in a compelling way, going through an overall strategy. And it's not just a bunch of different tactical things that I would say that a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've seen it with my own eyes, so many times, they end up spinning their wheels because they jump into different tactics without an overall strategy, and just going around doing hundreds of millions of things and not getting the results that you want. So what are your, recommendations on how to avoid that and use these tools, but really move forward, and not spin your wheels?
Absolutely. I'd say at the start, because, if you're chasing many rabbits, you're not going to catch any. So yes. I'd say at the start, start with Facebook, and if you know Facebook and Instagram, or whatever channel right? Facebook and Instagram is the one I'm most familiar with. I've also worked on other channels, but whatever channel you know the best and you think would work well for you, start with that. And if it's worked well for others, perhaps it would work well for you, but don't expect phenomenal results just because other people are using it, right? Because you want to be different. So start with that, and then based on the resources you're getting from the campaigns that you're running there, you can use that to do tests on other channels. But start with that first, but don't spend too much time. If it hasn't worked in the space of 1 to 3 months, then I'd say it's time to pivot to another channel. But if it works, then you can then use that to generate cash flow, which you can use to test out other channels.
Perfect. So in that sense, I think you just gave us like two pieces of information. So first of all, start with what you know, and there's a saying that I love: start with what you know and let what you know grow. So start there, make it work, generate cash flow, and with that income stream that's generating cash flow, you can invest in exploring new growth opportunities. So there you have like a step by step. So just pick one, stick with that one, make it work, and then go with other ones, and not just like jump around trying different things, and spinning your wheels. So anyway, fantastic answer, Amara. Thank you very much. Now, my last question, and before opening, the stage for all the questions that I can see here, all of you guys are typing in. Thank you, by the way, for the engagement. Today we will have a lot of questions. That's really cool. So the last one is, like, what are the things to be aware of before jumping into paid advertising? And the reason I'm asking this is because I see so many people thinking, that this is just like a holy grail, and they put the credit card and then they just, burn money. So we already covered some fundamentals, such as look at your hook, look at your offer, your website, understand your target market, the pains, but maybe a little bit more tactical. What are the things to really be aware before putting your credit card and saying to Facebook or any online ad, like, take my money and run some ads. What are the things that anyone have to be aware of?
That's a really good question. A lot of people just get burnt. The first time they try paid advertising and give all their money away to Sergey Brin and Larry Page and Mark Zuckerberg. But the most important thing I'd say you want to look at is understanding, we go back to this over and over again, who your customer is, your ideal customer is, what are their pain points, what are their needs, their fears. Because what you want to do is you want to work backwards. A lot of people, they usually create products out of passion projects, out of their passion. They're really passionate about it, so they create a product and they think like, the world is going to love it, right? Because they love it. That might be the case sometimes, but usually isn't the case. The old school of thought of build it and they will come doesn't work all the time. So I would say, rather than do that, what you want to do is, first of all, before you even start running ads, or ideally before you even build your product or create your product, study your customers, your ideal customers, right? And figure out exactly what their needs are, problems, pain points. And a good way to do this, actually, especially if you're selling physical products, because that's what I specialize in, is going on Amazon. You go on Amazon. Amazon is a treasure trove of valuable information, right? You've got some products out there with 10,000 reviews, 5,000 reviews, so you've got some data there with a little bit of statistical significance. So what you can do is look at the 1 stars and look at the 5 stars. And then you're going to find out people's pain points. People are going to tell you exactly what they hated about the product, why the product was useless. And you're going to see the 5 stars. And the 5 stars usually have, the problems people were facing. They used the product and the transformation they got out of it, right? So now you understand, okay, I'm going to develop a product that's similar to this product. Here's what people don't like about this product, right? Here's what people like about it, but here's what people think could be better. Now we can use that to develop your products. So I think it's really important, because if you start paid advertising on a product that nobody wants, no matter how good the marketing is, it's not going to move, right? It's not going to go anywhere. So I'd say really understand who your customers are, first of all.
Awesome. Well, very, very, very clear. So thank you, Amara, again for all the things that you're sharing. And right now, let's welcome Sina on this virtual stage, so she can be the voice of the people. We have today a group that it's been very engaged. We have a lot of questions. So I would say that already that probably we will go a little bit further, Amara, if that's okay for you. Maybe, I don't know, a couple of minutes, 5-10 minutes more. Absolutely. Because I can see we have here a lot of questions. All of them are super interesting. So I would love if we can cover all these. So saying that, Sina, welcome.
Yeah, great to be back. And first of all, thank you, Amara, for the interview and giving all those information. It was super depth and in detail. So, and also for all of you who joined today, and you think like, oh, it was really interesting, but I couldn't make all the notes I wanted to. So we always upload the interview as a podcast episode afterwards. And I will also create a little blog post that we're going to share on LinkedIn afterwards with the learning. So no worries. And yeah, I would say let's dive into the questions. And yeah, we have quite a few. And also, if you still have some other questions, you still have time to post them in the Q&A section. And yeah, the first one is from Chris, and he would like to know how you can get in front of more people without using social media.
Oh, that's a really good question. How can you get in front of more people without using social media? So I'd say there are other channels out there you can explore. So one that is really good that I like, I haven't explored it personally, but I know it works, is podcasts. So if you have an audience that, resonates with this particular topic, look for podcasts out there, that talk about that sort of stuff. And I know podcasts actually resonates really well with the people who fall into a higher income bracket. So if you've got a product that's quite expensive or a little bit more expensive than normal products, I think podcasts could be a good way to look for traffic. We've also talked about leveraging postal mail. I know a lot of people don't think it's really effective, but right now, since no one's actually using it, you can actually use it creatively. If you send something that's super compelling and you're able to then track it back to the address and the person who purchased, that could be super effective for you. And then, we think about sort of traditional media. Traditional media works, but you need to be able to know exactly how to track back, right? One way you could do that is maybe run your campaigns on traditional media. Perhaps you could get cheaper impressions there, but then use social media to retarget. So that's one way you could do that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those options. And also, I mean, what Fernando and I are doing here with the 4ChangeMakers Lunch Club is also basically using a show or tool that is not social media to get in front of you guys right now. I mean, we also use LinkedIn to promote it, but as you just said, like podcasts could be an amazing way as well to get our faces in front of other people to promote the lunch club. Or like one thing that Fernando and I did is we created like a Vision 100 list of like podcasts, blog posts, the media pages where our target market is active, and then like building collaborations with them and getting in front of like more people. So it's definitely an option.
That's really good. I was going to ask Ad as well. One of the things that's super effective is reaching out to people who write blogs in your industry. Because if someone's writing a blog that gets a lot of impressions, what you could do is have an arrangement with them where you could put a banner on their blog, right, and drive people over to your websites. Another one is email marketing. So if you know someone that's got a really good email list, what you could do is negotiate a rate with them for you to put your message in their email flow, right? So you could either send that out as a blast or put it in their recurring email flow, and that could be a way for you to actually generate traffic without using social media.
Yeah, I really like that, especially, I mean, what should be the core of all of this is always to see like, okay, how can we create value for one another, and then building the collaborations based on that. But I think this is pretty powerful. So let's go to the next question. It's again from Chris, and I just want to say a few things related to this question. So for all of you guys who don't know Chris, he is very passionate about the topic of digital sustainability, and he was also a guest in one of our, he was our very first guest, right? Very first guest in the Lunch Club. It was exactly about that topic, and so he's very passionate about this. And his question is, how do you measure the carbon impact of advertising? And I know that I'm not sure if you can say a lot about this topic, but I still wanted to bring this question up in general to also raise the awareness of like the digital sustainability, because everything we do online always has like a carbon impact. So we learned from Chris that like even like a single email, I forgot the number, but it was even like a single email creates like a carbon footprint. So I still wanted to bring this question up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good question. Not really in my sort of area of focus or core competence, but I think in terms of making sure that, you know, you're not just, you know, firing out impressions out there. I think you just want to test intelligently, right? Just because you can spend $1,000 to buy impressions doesn't mean that you should do that. So figure out how much data you need to get statistical significance, and then based on that, move on to the next stage of your testing. Rather than, you know, just because you're a big brand and you can burn $100,000 on a test doesn't mean you should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that answer. Okay, let's go over to the next one. It's from Serena, and so she would like to know how can you estimate the lifetime value for a pre-revenue SaaS startup? So are there any metrics that could lead to a reasonable estimate?
So pre-revenue, say that again?
Excuse me, a pre-revenue SaaS startup, so a very early SaaS startup.
How you can estimate the revenue for them?
The lifetime value.
The lifetime value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Right. I wouldn't know per se because my area of competence is in e-commerce, but I would say if you can get data from one of your competitors, understanding what their churn rate is. If you can understand what your competitor's churn rate is, then you can use that formula I shared with you of just 1 divided by your churn rate. And then if you know what your average order value, so how much people will be spending with you, if it's a subscription SaaS, then they're probably going to be spending the same amount with you every month. Then you could just basically use that to understand the lifetime value. So understand what the industry standard churn rate is, and then, you know, using your average order value, you can find out what the customer lifetime value is.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, the next question is an interesting one. It's from Gabrielle, and she runs a business where they sell vegan condoms without toxic chemicals. And she faces some struggles when she wants to do paid advertising, especially Facebook, Instagram, Google. So her ads, they get rejected oftentimes. And even though when she's talking about contraceptives rather than like pleasure, so she's asking if you have some advice on how she can improve her advertising in the sexual health space.
Sure. This is can be a tricky place to run ads, especially for contraceptives. Yeah, so what I would recommend is how can you sort of talk about the products that you're promoting. You know, it could be, you know, be it condoms, but without actually saying what it is, right? That's one way you could talk about it without actually explicitly using the word condoms in your copy. And one thing you could do is just use engaging creatives. So, you know, you could use like video creatives, lightweight motion video creatives to demonstrate exactly what the products do in a fun way. And if you can do that in a video creative or in an image creative, then you could convey that message without actually using the text space to talk about the product, if that makes sense. So you could use like metaphors in the copy, analogies in the copy, but then be more descriptive with the videos and the picture so that people know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you know an example of like a bigger business who is, I mean, doesn't have to be like condoms, could also be like some other product that might struggle with ads, but they do quite well or are very creative?
Yeah, so there's a product actually, there was actually a sanitary pad company that does this, I believe. I think they basically run ads for sort of sustainable sanitary towel pants, right? And sometimes, you know, you have got to be careful about what you say about these sort of stuff. And also the same company has a founder that also does ads for bidets, right? So they have to talk about, you know, like excrement all the time on Facebook and poo. So like they have to be a little bit savvy about that.
So you're talking about Miki Agrawal, right?
Exactly, I'm talking about Miki Agrawal. And she's got 2 companies that do this. So if you type in Miki Agrawal on the internet, you'll be able to see her companies. She's got a company that sells bidets, like sort of portable bidets, as well as a company that does sustainable sanitary pads for women. So she's basically scaling her businesses successfully. So that's a model that you can follow.
Yeah, the businesses are called Things and Tushy. So maybe, Fernando, you can also paste the links in the meantime. And I just saw that Gabrielle pasted an addition to her question. So she said that as long as the creatives are suggestive, they get turned down.
As long as the creatives are suggestive,
they get turned down by Facebook.
Oh, if the creatives are suggestive, they get turned down. So I think it's about testing, really testing exactly what's going to work. If you're able to not be explicit in your copy and not have, I guess in this case, you're talking about condoms. If you're able to show, people, who Facebook doesn't like people who are naked on their creatives. So if you're able to talk about it in a way that's playful, maybe use objects, that may resonate more than, not like going down the part where you have people showing off themselves on the creatives.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky thing, I think. But yeah, thank you very much. Let's go over to the next one. So next question is coming from Xaver. And his question is like, how can I figure out the first target group to go for, especially in B2B sales? So he also, part of his question is, he said like, okay, B2C, the B2C target group, you mentioned like looking for demographics, psychographics, but if you go for a B2B target group, what are you looking for? Like what kind of metrics? And then how can you figure out the first target group to go for in B2B sales?
Sure, that's a good question. So I'll say, I think about B2B and B2C very similarly. I think, both of them are people to people, and if you've got a customer in B2B, they also have a demographic, they also have a psychographic, they also live somewhere, and they have certain behavioral patterns online. So if you're able to understand that, then you're also able to target them, because some people think that, Facebook ads is strictly for B2C. Well, you can actually use Facebook ads for B2B if you understand who you need to target within an organization, right? So if you're targeting people with specific job roles, what sort of things are they interested in, right? So the things that you need to be looking at. Also, a tip for B2B, if you're targeting people in B2B, think about the events, maybe not so relevant right now, but as things open up, it could be relevant, events that people go to. So say, for example, if there's an exhibition somewhere around you, what you could do is to figure out the location of that conference. And then on the day of the conference, you could use geo-targeting to speak to people around that radius, right? So that's a super cool way of getting people. If you don't really know exactly, who they are and how to target them, you can literally just target the office, right? And then speak to the people within that vicinity.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. And I think what you just said, that it's always like people to people. I mean, even though you target with your ads maybe B2B, but at the end of the day, it's not a company that is looking at your ads. It's always like a person. So definitely makes sense to go for demographics, psychographics, etc. as well, if you want to create ads that are more B2B.
Yes, just to add on that, I think, by the way, that's a brilliant idea. And if your business, you can work with people not only in your area, but you can work with people from all around the world. You can look for those kind of events going around anywhere in the world, and you can go and you target your ads there, and there is your target market. So brilliant idea. I think anyone here can get some gold out of that. Thank you, Amara, for sharing that. Really, really good.
Awesome. So yeah, we have our last question, and this one is from Sabine, and it's also a very, very good point, important point she's mentioning here, because a lot of impact-driven businesses, they really care about the privacy of their visitors on the website. And she said that for her business, they for example, they don't use a Facebook pixel, they don't have it installed, and they also don't like the idea of click tracking tools like Hotjar. So, but she's also aware that you definitely need a certain degree of tracking to generate the kind of data that is needed if you want to apply growth marketing practices. So, how can privacy-sensitive businesses balance the need to know with minimal data collection? Do you have some ideas on that?
Sure. So I guess a privacy-sensitive business wants to understand their threshold in the amount of data they want to collect.
I think you're.
Yeah, I think we lost.
I think you're cut off right now a little bit.
Okay, these are really good questions. So let's see if he can come back. Let's wait. Amara, are you back?
Yes.
Can you you were cut off for a little moment. Can you answer the question again?
Yeah, sure. So I was saying for privacy sensitive businesses, what you want to understand is your threshold for the amount of data you want to collect, right? So once you understand your threshold for the amount of data you want to collect, then you understand, which tools would work for you and which tools wouldn't work for you. But I think high level, you want to own the data as much as possible. Say, for example, email addresses. If you're able to shift your strategy towards getting more emails, then you can actually communicate with people via email. So that's one way of, still succeeding, even though you can't really leverage social media or display advertising as much as possible. Sort of lead with getting people with awareness and getting them to sign up for your email list, and then doing the most of your marketing within that email list.
Thank you. And also I think what is very important, especially for impact-driven businesses, to be like very authentic and honest about what you're tracking and make it easily accessible on your website so that people know exactly what you're tracking. So yeah, that was the last question. If there are any last-minute questions, it's still the chance right now to go for it, but I would say
Sabine just comment here in the chat. I mean, a couple of things. First of all, Chris is being very active today, so thank you very much. He just gave a link of a website. It's called withcarbon.com. There's a great privacy-focused analytics service, so we will put that link as well in the show notes. And Sabine, she says that she's currently using Statify, and she said that that's enough for her business, but she's just looking, to give better advice to her clients. Any thoughts on that, Amara?
I've never used Statify, to be honest with you, so
okay.
Not so sure about that.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
So anyway, I think we're done, no?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for joining, and also for the people who joined and listened and asked questions today. It was an amazing episode. I think we learned a lot, and I want to point out two things before we finish, because Amara is also having an amazing YouTube channel where he's always posting videos where he's explaining a lot of important things related to growth marketing, e-commerce businesses, how to sell online. And I thought it makes sense to post it here if you want to follow him. I think this should be his profile. And yeah.
Yes, and also if people would like to get in contact with you, Amara, how they can contact you?
Yeah, sure. So you can get in contact with me via my website. Just head over and you should be able to reach me on my website. Also, my email address is amara@giantstride.media. So you can also get in contact with me that way as well.
Okay, awesome. So anyway, Amara, thank you very much for joining us today. I think we have a lot of valuable tips and stuff. We will put all these links as well on the show notes. So if you're listening to the podcast, you can go to our website, 4changemakers.com/podcast, and then you will be able to see as well all the links and the things that we are talking about, the YouTube channel, his website, and everything else. So Amara, anyway, I think really, really valuable. We have a lot of fun. Great episode today. Great engagement. Thank you everyone, guys, as well, for joining and asking all these questions. We have a lot of fun. And wish you an awesome week ahead.
And one thing, I mean, Fernando, you posted the link to our,
Yes, for us, that's true. I totally forgot it. Oh my gosh. We're looking for ways as well to get the show better. And so if you can take a couple of minutes of your time, we have 3 questions. It's super easy form, but will give us a lot of insights on how we can get better with the show, and we can serve you better, we can ask better questions, we can get the format better for you. So anyway, this is all about you guys. So we wouldn't be here if you were not here with us. So please help us to help you would be the word for us. If you can take, a couple of minutes of your time, really will not take you more than 2 minutes to answer, 2 or 3 questions. So
yeah, I just pasted it, and maybe just do it immediately right now. So because I know how it is. If you think about it, I'm gonna do it later, then oftentimes we just forget it. So
just click the link there. It's just 2 minutes, 3 questions. It's just that all. So anyway, wish you all guys, we are a little bit over the time. Thank you all guys for coming in. Amara, again, thank you very much. A lot of fun. Wish you all an awesome week ahead, an awesome day. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. Don't go crazy with the lockdown and stuff like that. And see you in a couple of weeks. See
you in 2 weeks. Awesome.
Right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take
Bye,
care.
guys.
Ciao everyone. See you.